The massive form of the human dreadnought Sovereign materialized in the Centauri neutral zone, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. At 15 kilometers in length, it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The vessel's arrival sent immediate shockwaves through the local quantum communication networks as alien civilizations scrambled to make sense of this unprecedented arrival. Grand Admiral Jackson Rhodes stood at the command center of the Sovereign, his dark eyes scanning the tactical displays that filled the circular chamber. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, monitoring the reactions of the numerous alien vessels that had begun to gather at a safe distance. Multiple ships approaching from the Nexus trade routes, Admiral, reported First Officer Naomi Chen. Counting 37 vessels of various configurations, they're maintaining their distance but have activated their scanning arrays. Rhodes nodded slowly. This was exactly the response they had anticipated. Humanity had hidden its true technological capabilities for over a century, watching and learning as various alien empires squabbled over resources and terrorized younger civilizations. Today, that era of silence would end. "Status of our quantum shields?" Rhodes asked, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who knew they held the upper hand. "Operating at optimal capacity, sir," Lieutenant Marcus Wung responded from his station. "Their scans aren't even scratching the surface. The outer deflection layer is redirecting all their attempts to analyze our capabilities." The Sovereign represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a vessel so advanced that most of its systems would seem like magic to even the most developed alien civilizations. Its quantum core alone contained enough energy to power a small star, while its defensive systems could withstand the force of a supernova. Admiral called out Communications Director Olivia Patel were receiving transmissions from multiple sources. "The Arcturus Confederation and the Orion League are demanding to know our intentions. The Draconid Empire is threatening immediate military response if we don't withdraw from the neutral zone." A slight smile crossed Rhodes's weathered face. "Put me on general broadcast, all frequencies, all known languages." "The channel open, sir." Rhodes straightened his midnight blue uniform, adorned with the simple gold insignia of the United Earth Command. "This is Grand Admiral Jackson Rhodes of the human dreadnought Sovereign. We come with peaceful intent, but make no mistake, we will no longer stand idle while the strong prey upon the weak in this sector of space." He paused, letting the translation matrices carry his words to every listening vessel. For too long, humanity has watched as ancient empires treated younger civilizations as resources to be exploited. We have witnessed the suffering of countless species under the boot of self-proclaimed superior races. That ends today. The tactical displays showed more ships arriving, massive dreadnoughts of the Draconid Empire, their weapon systems charging in a futile show of force. "To demonstrate our peaceful intentions," Rhodes continued, "we will share our coordinates with all nations. We invite diplomatic representatives to approach and dock. However," his voice took on an edge of steel, "any aggressive action will be met with immediate response. The Sovereign is not just a vessel, it is humanity's promise to protect those who cannot protect themselves." As if to challenge this declaration, 3 Draconid warships broke formation, their plasma cannons firing in unison. The energy bolts, capable of destroying small moons, splashed harmlessly against the Sovereign's outer shields. Rhodes sighed. "Lieutenant Wung, execute Protocol 1, minimal force." "Aye, sir." A single pulse of quantum energy emanated from the Sovereign, encompassing the 3 attacking vessels. When it passed, their weapons and propulsion systems had been completely disabled, leaving them floating helplessly in space. "To the Draconid vessels," Rhodes broadcast, "we have temporarily disabled your ships. Your life support and basic systems remain functional. Consider this a demonstration of both our capabilities and our restraint." The bridge crew watched as the remaining Draconid ships quickly retreated to a safer distance. Messages began flooding in from various civilizations, now eager to accept the invitation for diplomatic contact. "First Officer Chen, prepare to receive diplomatic delegations," Rhodes ordered. "Director Patel, begin transmitting our preliminary diplomatic package to all major powers. It's time they understood that humanity is ready to take its place in galactic affairs." As the Sovereign hung in space, its massive form casting long shadows across the stars, the galaxy faced an undeniable truth. Humanity had emerged not as conquerors or supplicants, but as guardians. The human dreadnought's arrival marked the beginning of a new era, one where the balance of power would shift toward justice and protection of the innocent. Deep within the ship, ancient quantum engines hummed with barely contained power, ready to defend this new order. The age of unchecked imperialism in the galaxy was over. The human dreadnought had entered the stage of history, and nothing would ever be the same. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Sovereign hummed, with tension as representatives from 12 major galactic powers gathered around the quantum holographic conference table. Grand Admiral Rhodes studied the assembled aliens, from the towering, crystalline forms of the Arcturus delegates to the serpentine grace of the Draconid Empire's reluctant envoys. The human vessel's size alone violates 6 different provisions of the Galactic Concordat, declared High Speaker Ixis of the Draconid Empire, his scaled face flushed with barely contained rage. No single ship may exceed 5 kilometers in length without express permission from the Council of Ancient Races. First Officer Chen, standing at Rhodes's right, quietly activated her neural interface. The chamber's holographic display came to life, showing detailed scans of recent Draconid military movements. Interesting you should mention the Concordat, High Speaker. Perhaps you'd care to explain these formations along the Rigel border, specifically the systematic elimination of Rigelian defense platforms. The Draconid representative's scales darkened, their species equivalent of blanching. Before he could respond, Ambassador Lyra of the Arcturus Confederation raised her crystalline form. The Concordat has been selectively enforced for millennia. What concerns us more is humanity's sudden revelation of such advanced technology. You've been hiding your true capabilities. Not hiding, Rhodes corrected, his voice calm but firm. Observing, learning, and what we've learned is troubling. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show dozens of incidents. Slave ships disguised as traders, worlds stripped of resources, species forced into servitude. The Sovereign represents humanity's response to decades of witnessing injustice, Rhodes continued. We developed this vessel not to conquer but to protect. A sudden alert flashed across Chen's neural feed. Admiral, she interrupted, we're detecting multiple quantum signatures. The Draconid 8th Fleet is mobilizing near the Rigel border. High Speaker Ixis rose, his ceremonial robe swirling. A routine military exercise we are not answerable to. Targeting civilian evacuation ships, Chen cut in, her voice hard. Rigelian refugees fleeing the conflict zone. Rhodes stood slowly, his movement drawing all eyes. High Speaker, you're about to witness why we built the Sovereign. He activated his command interface. Lieutenant Wang, execute emergency jump to Rigel coordinates, diplomatic session suspended. The massive Dreadnought's quantum drive engaged, reality bending around its hull. In the space of a heartbeat, they materialized in the Rigel sector. The scene before them confirmed their worst fears. 7 Draconid warships surrounded a cluster of civilian vessels, their weapons charged. The refugee ships, overloaded with civilians fleeing the border worlds, had no chance against military vessels. Open all channels, Rhodes ordered. This is Grand Admiral Rhodes of the Sovereign. Draconid vessels, stand down immediately. This is your only warning. The response came in the form of plasma fire, not at the Sovereign, but at the refugee ships. The Draconids had chosen to call what they thought was a bluff. Quantum shield extension, maximum range, Rhodes commanded. Cover those civilian ships. A shimmering field of distorted space expanded from the Sovereign, enveloping the refugee vessels just as the plasma bolts reached them. The deadly energy dispersed harmlessly against the quantum barriers. Target their weapon systems only, Rhodes ordered. Show them precisely what they're dealing with. The Sovereign's precision defense array activated. 12 pencil-thin beams of concentrated quantum energy lanced out simultaneously, striking each weapon hardpoint on the Draconid ships with surgical accuracy. The warship's weapons simply ceased to exist, converted to their base quantum components. Impossible, High Speaker Ixis sputtered from the diplomatic chamber. Such precision at this range. Now, Rhodes addressed the Draconid commanders, your vessels retain life support and basic propulsion. You will power down completely and await the arrival of Confederation peacekeeping forces. Any further aggressive action will result in complete systemic shutdown of your vessels. As the Draconid ships complied, refugee vessels began transmitting messages of thanks. First Officer Chen monitored the quantum communications network as the news spread across local space. Humanity's Dreadnought had just neutralized an entire attack fleet without destroying a single ship or taking a single life. Send word to Earth Command, Rhodes instructed Chen. The Sovereign's capabilities have been successfully demonstrated. Request permission to proceed with Phase 2 of the operation. Chen nodded, but her expression was concerned. The other powers won't stay passive after this, sir. We've just challenged the entire established order of the galaxy. Good, Rhodes replied, watching as Confederation ships began arriving to secure the Draconid vessels. The established order needed challenging. The galaxy's strong have preyed on the weak for too long, hiding behind laws they themselves ignore. He turned to address the still assembled diplomats in the chamber. Let me be clear, the Sovereign isn't here to conquer or control. We're here to ensure that the rights of all sentient beings are protected. Those who live in peace have nothing to fear, those who prey on others. He let the statement hang in the air. The quantum displays showed more ships arriving, vessels from various powers, come to witness the aftermath of humanity's first real demonstration of power. The age of unchecked aggression was ending, whether the old empires liked it or not. The human dreadnought had not just entered their space, it had changed their universe. The command center of the Sovereign dimmed as holographic star maps filled the space, showing hundreds of points of light pulsing with different colors. Grand Admiral Rhodes and his senior staff watched as patterns emerged in the data streams, patterns that told a disturbing story. Intelligence confirms our suspicions, Director of Operations Marcus Reeves reported, his dark features illuminated by the holographic glow. The recent conflicts aren't random. The Draconids' attack on the Rigelians was just one piece of a larger puzzle. First Officer Chen manipulated the display, highlighting specific sectors. We've detected quantum energy signatures consistent with prohibited weapons in these regions. The Draconids aren't acting alone. They're working with the hegemony of Seven Suns. Rhodes studied the patterns, his expression grim. The old empires are cooperating for the first time in centuries, not out of friendship. But fear, Chen finished, fear of us, of what the Sovereign represents. The holographic display shifted again, revealing a massive construction project hidden in dark space between the spiral arms of the galaxy. The scale was staggering, shipyards stretching across millions of kilometers, building what could only be weapons of mass destruction. Chief Engineer Patel, Rhodes called your analysis. Raj Patel, the Sovereign's brilliant but eccentric chief engineer, stepped forward, his cybernetic eye word as he analyzed the data. They're attempting to replicate our quantum technology, sir, poorly. These designs, they're like children playing with antimatter. One miscalculation and they could tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. Before Rhodes could respond, emergency alerts flashed across every screen. Lieutenant Wang's hands flew across his console. Multiple distress calls, Admiral. The hegemony has launched simultaneous attacks on 3 protectorate worlds. They're using some kind of new weapon technology. The tactical display showed the horror unfolding. Experimental weapons platforms were targeting civilian populations, their effects devastating. Millions of lives hung in the balance. They're forcing our hand, Chen realized. They know we'll have to split our forces to respond to all 3 attacks. They want to prove the Sovereign can't protect everyone at once. Rhodes's voice cut through the tension. They're about to learn why humanity kept its true capabilities hidden for so long. He opened a channel to engineering. Chief Patel, initiate Protocol Omega, authorization Rhodes 77 Delta. Patel's cybernetic eye flashed. Sir, Protocol Omega hasn't been field tested. The power requirements alone could. We're out of options, Chief. Execute. Deep within the Sovereign's quantum core, something extraordinary began to happen. The massive ship's power signature suddenly multiplied, then split, creating 3 distinct energy patterns that perfectly matched the original. The bridge crew watched in awe as reality itself seemed to bend around their vessel. Where there had been one Sovereign, there were now 3 identical ships, each as real and powerful as the original. Quantum replication field stable, Patel reported, his voice filled with professional pride. All 3 instances are maintaining coherence. We have approximately 6 hours before quantum degradation begins. Rhodes straightened his uniform. Deploy to all 3 conflict zones. Identical response protocols at each location. Let's show them why challenging humanity was their greatest mistake. The 3 Sovereigns moved with perfect synchronization, each jumping to a different battle zone. At each location, the massive human dreadnought appeared like an avenging angel, its quantum weapons systematically disabling the hegemony's experimental platforms before they could claim more innocent lives. In the original Sovereign's command center, Rhodes received real-time updates from all three instances of his vessel. The hegemony forces, faced with what appeared to be impossible technology, began to retreat in disarray. Sir, Chen reported, monitoring the quantum comm channels, the Arcturus Confederation is demanding an explanation. They're saying this level of technology violates natural law. Natural law? Rhodes allowed himself a small smile. We passed that limitation a century ago. The galaxy has been operating under the assumption that humanity is bound by the same technological constraints as other races. That assumption ends today. The tactical displays showed the aftermath of their intervention. 3 worlds saved, millions of lives preserved, and the combined forces of 2 ancient empires in full retreat. But Rhodes knew this was just the beginning. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. The hostile powers have revealed their hands sooner than expected. Request authorization to proceed with the final phase of Operation Guardian. As the message was sent, the holographic display updated to show new movements throughout the galaxy. More ancient empires were mobilizing their forces, realizing that humanity's emergence threatened their very way of life. The age of unchecked power was ending, and the old guard would not go quietly. They'll come for us now, Chen observed. All of them. They'll set aside their differences and unite against us. Rhodes nodded. That's exactly what we've been waiting for. Let them come. Let them throw their combined might against the Sovereign. Then they'll understand humanity didn't build this ship to win a war. We built it to prevent one. The quantum sensors detected more fleets gathering, more ancient powers preparing for conflict. But aboard the Sovereign there was only calm determination. The human Dreadnought had not just entered their space or challenged their power. It had shattered their understanding of what was possible, and in doing so, had changed the rules of a game they had dominated for millennia. The true purpose of the Sovereign was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The vast emptiness of the Artemis void erupted with light as over 3,000 warships dropped out of quantum space. The combined fleets of 7 ancient empires, the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history, moved into attack formation. At their center, the flagships of the Draconid Empire and the hegemony of 7 Suns led the charge, their massive forms bristling with experimental weapons. Aboard the Sovereign, Grand Admiral Rhodes received the intelligence updates with practiced calm. They've committed 90% of their military forces to this assault, he noted, studying the tactical displays. Desperate. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Lieutenant Wang reported. They're using the prototype weapons we observed in the shipyards. Energy readings are off the charts. First Officer Chen's neural interface flashed urgent warnings. Sir, they're charging something new, the power signature. It's like they're trying to create an artificial quantum singularity. A planet killer, Chief Engineer Patel confirmed from his station, his cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data. They've combined their technologies. One hit could tear a world apart. Rhodes straightened, his expression hardening. Send the final warning. After everything they've seen, they're still choosing this path. The communication went out on all frequencies. This is Grand Admiral Rhodes of the human Dreadnought Sovereign. Your combined fleet carries enough firepower to destroy solar systems. Stand down now, or we will be forced to demonstrate why humanity has been holding back. The response came from Supreme Warmaster Kraz of the Draconid Empire. Your technological tricks end today, human. One vessel, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the combined might of the ancient races. Surrender the Sovereign's quantum core technology, and we may show mercy to your colonies. Rhodes shook his head slowly. They still don't understand. Initialize the Avalon Protocol. Deep within the Sovereign, systems that had laid dormant since the ship's construction hummed to life. The quantum core's energy signature began to change, not growing larger but somehow deeper, as if extending into other dimensions. Sir, Patel called out, they're firing the singularity weapon. A beam of impossible darkness lanced out from the combined fleet, powerful enough to tear a hole in reality itself. It struck the Sovereign dead center and passed through it as if the massive ship wasn't there. Quantum phase shift complete, Wang reported. The Sovereign exists in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Their conventional weapons can no longer affect us. Rhodes nodded. Show them what they're really facing, full sensor revelation. Chen activated the command, and suddenly the enemy fleet's sensors revealed the truth. The space around them was filled with quantum shadows, echoes of thousands of parallel dimensions, and in each one a sovereign waited. Not copies this time, but the same ship existing in multiple realities at once. By the ancient stars, the War Master's voice cracked. What are you? We are humanity's guardians, Rhodes responded. For a century, we watched your empires abuse their power. We built the sovereign not as a weapon, but as a key to unlock humanity's true potential. We have evolved beyond the need for fleets of warships or weapons of mass destruction. As if to demonstrate his words, quantum energy began to flow from the sovereign's multidimensional form. Where it touched the enemy vessels, their weapons simply ceased to function, their power cores went dark, and their quantum drives deactivated. You focus so much on matching our weapons, Rhodes continued, that you never stopped to ask why we built only one ship. The Sovereign isn't a dreadnought, it's a gateway, a bridge between what is and what could be. Across the battlefield, more ships lost power as the quantum field expanded, not destroying, simply neutralizing. The mighty armada of the ancient races was being reduced to cold metal and darkened halls, their crews unharmed but utterly powerless. 3,000 ships, First Officer Chen observed, disabled in under 5 minutes, without a single loss of life. Rhodes opened a channel to all vessels, his voice firm but not unkind. Your empires have ruled through force for millennia. That era is over. The Sovereign represents humanity's promise to the galaxy not to conquer but to protect, not to destroy but to preserve. The quantum field continued its work, and soon the entire armada hung silent in space. Emergency power kept life support running, but nothing more. The mightiest fleet ever assembled had been rendered harmless by a single vessel. Send the diplomatic package to all ships, Rhodes ordered. Show them our vision for the future. A galaxy where technology serves life, not death, where advancement means elevation of all species, not subjugation of the weak. As the data transferred, the Sovereign's sensors detected something unexpected: cheering. On dozens of the disabled ships, crew members were celebrating their defeat. Centuries of serving empires built on fear and domination had taken their toll, and now they saw another way. Sir, Chen reported, we're receiving surrender signals, not just from the fleet, from the empires themselves. The Arcturus Confederation is offering to mediate a galaxy-wide peace conference. Rhodes allowed himself a small smile. Send word to Earth Command. Phase 4 of Operation Guardian is complete. The human dreadnought hasn't just changed the balance of power, it's eliminated the need for such balances entirely. The Sovereign hung in space, its quantum field maintaining peace across thousands of dimensions simultaneously. The ancient empires had united to face what they thought was a threat, only to discover it was salvation. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not with a show of force, but with a demonstration of enlightenment. The age of warfare was ending. The age of understanding was about to begin. 1 month after the Battle of the Artemis Void, the Sovereign hovered above Earth's orbital shipyards, its quantum field rippling with peaceful energy. In its massive diplomatic chamber, representatives from over 200 species gathered for the signing of the Galactic Concordat of Unity, a document that would forever change the course of civilization. Grand Admiral Rhodes stood at the chamber's center, watching as former enemies sat side by side, their weapons and armies neutralized, their focus now turned to cooperation and growth. The Sovereign's demonstration had done more than end a war. It had shattered millennia of established beliefs about power and governance. The final drafts are ready, Admiral, First Officer Chen reported, her neural interface displaying the consolidated agreements. Every major power has agreed to the terms. Even the Draconid Empire and the Hegemony have signed on. Not through force, Rhodes noted with satisfaction, but through understanding. The chamber's quantum displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Former warships being converted into exploration vessels, weapons platforms transformed into research stations, and most importantly, enslaved species being freed and welcomed into the galactic community as equals. Chief Engineer Patel approached, his cybernetic eye glowing with excitement. Sir, you might want to see this. The Shared Technology Initiative is already yielding results. The Arcturus scientists have combined their crystalline computing with our quantum principles. They're achieving breakthroughs we never imagined possible. That's the point, Raj, Rhodes smiled. We didn't come to teach, we came to learn together. The main doors opened as Supreme Warmaster Kraz entered, now wearing the simple robes of a Draconid diplomat rather than battle armor. The once-proud warrior had become one of the strongest advocates for the new order. Admiral Rhodes, Kraz bowed slightly, his scaled features showing respect rather than the previous hatred. My people have completed the conversion of our last dreadnought. The weapon systems have been replaced with quantum research laboratories. We are ready to begin our journey of enlightenment. Not our enlightenment, Warmaster, Rhodes corrected gently. Humanity doesn't seek to lead the galaxy. The Sovereign was built to be a catalyst, nothing more. Director of Operations Reeves approached with urgent data. Speaking of catalysts, sir, the quantum field has spread exactly as predicted. Every system where we demonstrated the Sovereign's capabilities has developed a stable quantum harmony. The old weapons literally cannot function anymore. Rhodes nodded. This had been the true purpose all along. The Sovereign wasn't just a ship, it was a key that unlocked a fundamental change in how reality worked in this sector of space. War hadn't been prevented through superior firepower, but through the subtle manipulation of physical laws themselves. Admiral, Lieutenant Wang called from his station. The President of Earth is ready to begin the ceremony. The chamber hushed as the holographic form of humanity's leader appeared. President Garcia surveyed the assembled representatives, her expression solemn but hopeful. Distinguished delegates of the galaxy, she began, today we sign more than a peace treaty. We embrace a new understanding of our place in the cosmos. Humanity kept itself hidden for centuries not out of fear but because we needed to be certain. Certain that when we revealed ourselves, it would not lead to more war, more destruction. She gestured to the Sovereign's quantum core, visible through transparent panels. This vessel, which many feared as a super weapon, is actually a bridge between what we were and what we can become. Its power lies not in its ability to destroy, but in its ability to change the very nature of conflict itself. The delegates murmured in agreement. They had seen their mightiest weapons rendered useless, not through violence, but through the subtle manipulation of quantum reality. The Sovereign had demonstrated that true power lay in transformation, not destruction. The human dreadnought, President Garcia continued, will remain as a guardian not of human interests but of galactic peace. Its quantum field will continue to maintain the changes we have initiated, making large-scale warfare physically impossible in our sector of space. But its greater purpose is to remind us all that evolution, true evolution, comes not through dominance but through cooperation. As the ceremony proceeded, First Officer Chen approached Rhodes privately. It worked better than we hoped, sir. They never suspected that the Sovereign's true purpose was to fundamentally alter the physics of warfare itself. Rhodes watched as ancient enemies signed the accord, their former hatred transformed into curiosity and respect. Because they were looking for a weapon, Julia. They never considered that humanity's greatest achievement would be finding a way to make weapons themselves obsolete. The quantum displays showed the changes spreading across the galaxy, a cascade of transformation that could never be undone. The human dreadnought had entered their space not to conquer or control, but to free them all from the cycle of violence that had dominated galactic history. As the ceremony concluded, the Sovereign's quantum core pulsed with renewed energy, its field strengthening. The age of dreadnoughts and planet killers was over. The age of exploration and cooperation had begun. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through superior firepower, but through superior vision. The human dreadnought would remain as a symbol, not of war, but of the moment when an entire galaxy learned that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to transform.